You're there.
Welcome back to the Anachroschism. When we left off last time, we were in a bit of a state of disarray. Basically, to go behind the curtain a bit, we were up against a time stop, and so we had to sort of speed up some things. And as such, there's a bit of retconning to do. The conversation with Thea lasted well into the evening, made for spirited, lively talk. Isaac and Karash had talked about wanting to go see Derek, but that's not a thing. So Derek's off doing whatever he's doing, having a grand old time. And basically, I assume the party just wanted to settle into rooms for the night and have a nice rest before journeying in the morning.
Yeah, an in-story reason. Isaac wanted to talk to him. Then he got tired. And he's like, I just want to go to bed. Karash, you ready for bed? And Karash was like, hell yeah. And
That's
so
hashtag relatable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hashtag squad goals. All right. So you each have your own room here. You've been here once before for the evening, so you're familiar with the place.
Does Tessian share a room with Thea? He assumes he is.
If you'd like to.
She says,
if
he
Thea
assumes
will
he
have
is.
him.
Yeah.
Well, he assumes so until she says otherwise, because he can be a little assuming.
Yeah, despite her jokingly standoffish opening, she has no problem with that whatsoever.
Okay.
So, plus it'll be more ecumenical, which is important because you're still blowing through all your party funds.
Yes, exactly. This is all your money. I'm just spending it all on her. So,
right. Fist. So, anything else before the evening, or just early to bed, early to rise? Okay.
I mean, I imagine Tessian tries to answer any questions Thea has about the party. She said she was going to go with us tomorrow, so anything like that, but nothing major, I suspect. So.
And she is curious about your impressions of each of them, because she's sort of formed her own in the early going, but she kind of wants to get your take since you've been traveling with them. And I don't know if you have like a sentence or two version of each for the sake of time. But
Oh, Christ.
Oh God.
I
mean, I think it's pretty basic. Speaks highly of Lena. There's a journal entry on Lena. He probably gives her the journal. If she cares to look at it. Gives her gift as well.
Okay.
The book. So she has some reading to do tomorrow. Although he discourages her from staying up late reading it tonight. Other than that, so good opinions of Lena, good opinions of Karash. Although he seems, he definitely points out that he has a hard time understanding the norms of everything. So you kind of have to go a little slow with him. Not that he's slow, but like you have to. Yeah. Like his inability to understand certain phrases is, you just have to be careful how you try to phrase things around him. He's got good opinions of Grail. She's a little, I don't know, not innocent, but innocent of the world. But she's got a good head on her shoulders. He thinks she can do really well. A lot of potential. Kind of the same with Isaac, actually. Sort of like Isaac's got a lot of potential, but he's too stuck up his own ideals, and just he hasn't really seen how the world works. Very similar to kind of Grail. He thinks the two of them share a lot in common. Basically, is sort of his gist.
Okay. None of you know any of that, of course, but
I'm surprised. I would have said it's easier to frame that as he has bad opinions of Isaac, and then that was it. But no, not exactly.
I mean, he doesn't approve. I mean, he makes it clear that like him and Isaac have clashed before, but he thinks it's just because Isaac is just doesn't know any better yet. Is basically it.
Oh well, hopefully he'll grow up soon.
Yeah, exactly.
Bouncing baby boy. She lights up at the gift, and she's also all about coloring you have a sketch of Lena, right?
Yeah, the dragon. Yeah. And of Lena, but yeah, I've got both.
She whips out the paint for that, and it's all about filling in some of the like in between spaces to make it more colorful, but also more resplendent. It's more of a.
Did she see the forum last time? Did that happen yet?
Oh, ooh.
I can't remember if he transformed or not.
The intention was to do it when it wasn't so public, so we can say it. It's up to you guys, really. It's
we can
low
say it
stakes.
happened later, like afterwards when we went upstairs before we split off to go to bed. I guess. Yeah.
I was just gonna wonder why she was coloring it if she hadn't seen it.
Right. I was figuring it had, but
It's fine. She's just like, oh, I definitely think there's some green here.
It's
and you're like,
pink.
No.
It's pink and orange, and it is hideous. These are not complementary colors. All right, so settling in for the evening. It's nice to have beds. It's nice to not feel the pressure of a bigger city. And Grail, make a wisdom saving throw.
For what it's worth, too, I want to write my first little entry for the librarian.
Okay.
To let her know what we saw and...
Just kind of summarizing Lycidian?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
What is happening?
I'm so tired. I got an 8.
You had the 8 at first, and then it went south. All right. So...
it doesn't matter, but, like, I would basically talk in generalities, but about, things have been difficult. Even when we think that we have a small victory, we can't really be sure. It feels like we lose like 4 things to kind of win 1 thing, but then I also kind of go in depth on what we're seeing in the city and all of that, because part of it was to experience these things like for her. So yeah.
Okay. Grail. Good night's sleep. In fact, you're kind of worrying as you lay in bed and sleep takes you. You're like, I don't know if I want another dream. I kind of do because I'm curious, but I kind of don't because I don't know what it might have in it, and I don't know if it's going to come true or not, and it's a whole thing. And you're kind of like bracing yourself mentally as you go to sleep, but wake up the next morning and you're like, nothing. That's it. So morning comes. You guys are up nice and early, and you have the day to do with what you will.
Checking our supplies, just making sure we're good to go. This is what Tessian's been trying to get us to do for a while now, so he just wants to make sure it goes off without a hitch.
Still got several days worth of rations and several other things in the cart for your convenience. You now have horses, you now have tents, so things are looking pretty good for a lengthy travel session.
I'll probably be helping with that too, for the record. So.
All right, Lena helps you. You still have horses, still have some rations.
Nothing changes.
Yeah, I know. The food multiplies.
Whoa.
I would want to go check on Sophia, but I wouldn't. I feel like even if she cared about us, which she probably really doesn't all that much, it would be like saying goodbye twice. It would just make it harder. So.
Hey, speak for yourself.
Yeah, I forgot. She actually liked you.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm not going to. Yeah.
Okay. Loading up the cart, heading out.
Hell yeah.
Works.
All right.
Is this a new cart or...
Same cart, new horses.
This is the cart that I tried to paint something on the side, our name.
That's right.
I feel like I would, if I could, I would like wake up early and like cover it up. I don't. Feels like a lifetime ago.
Varnish it.
I don't give a shit anymore. I would cover it up. This ain't no fairy tale.
Like with other paint? Or
yeah, like the color of the wood, whatever. Yeah.
Okay. That's doable. You guys come out to a freshly painted side, part of the wagon, freshly painted, looking ready to go, looking spiffy. And not that the mules were bad or anything, but the horses definitely look like a much better accoutrement for the wagon. I'm assuming you guys are going to be heading west to the Penella Pass by way of the Shrine of Zenithra.
Yes?
Yes.
Nothing else in town. Everybody's good to go. I'm just making sure. Because, when the sandworm eats you halfway there, I just want to make sure you've had a chance to do everything you needed to do.
I buy some sandworm repellent from the
shit.
local shop.
Oh, fuck.
Walk with an irregular step, ladies and gentlemen.
What's the Batman thing he's got in his utility belt? Shark repellent?
Yeah.
Shark repellent.
Yeah.
Shark repellent.
Never leave home without it.
Yeah. Wonderful.
You never know.
Can't believe we ended up with such a serious Batman after that nonsense. All right. Who's driving? Bear's driving.
Me.
Okay.
I will be driving.
Who else is up front?
Is anyone up front?
All right, shotgun.
I think Tessian's wherever Thea's sitting, and there can't be two people sitting in front, so it's not there.
Oh, so Thea's going with us.
Yeah, she said she was, right? I assume she is, or is she not?
Yeah.
She said she was interested when you offered to her, so she's there. And Isaac, that's news to you. You weren't there for that part of the conversation, so.
I see it, and I think about it, and I don't give a shit, so. Whatever. Hopefully she can prove herself.
So she hops in the back of the wagon. Seems excited again, too. She's kind of like a nervous ball of energy at this point.
I would like to actually say hi to her.
Okay, I was going to say, she's going to be peppering you with questions as soon as the journey gets underway, so that's
Fine.
that's fair. So as you guys set off, there's no party watching you or anything. The Duchess or Sophia don't come out. It's just you guys chilling in the morning, heading west.
All right, Karash, let's review. It's been a few days. Let's see if you're still sharp with the reading.
Yes.
Okay.
Apparently it's becoming a chore. I don't know.
That's not what I was expecting. All right. I forget what we've been doing for these, like an intelligence check, right? Something
Yeah.
like that.
For what it's worth,
Oh,
Isaac
big
is
11.
surprised Karash didn't respond with some weird thing about sharpness. He just went with it. And I'm, Isaac's happy about that. He's learning.
11, I heard.
Yes.
Well, the good news is that as you're doing more of these, the DC is getting slightly easier. So you do make a good bit of progress. So the first time you made like a tremendous amount because you guys really connected. The second time it was hit or miss. There was too much going on to really latch on. This time it's pretty good overall. You work your way through several new letters, and Crash actually has the feedback loop to reproduce some of them on command and not just like understand them. You're still not even all the way through the alphabet yet, but you're definitely getting there.
Now, I need to actually do a thing, too, because I am trying to teach him how to... I believe you obviously know how to speak Draconic, but you don't know how to write Draconic.
Well, no.
So I need to teach myself how to write Draconic so I can then teach you. So I have a thing as well.
All right.
Sweet Jesus.
Which is,
I mean,
guess
if you need help with Draconic, there happens to be someone who's proficient with it in the cart.
Yeah, who's that?
I wonder.
Do-do. Do-do, 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 do-do. So go ahead and make an intelligence check.
10.
Okay.
It's hard.
It is. It's
so hard.
You make inroads. You don't just like fail completely. You're making progress, but it does feel like it's going to take, I don't know about a considerable amount more time, but it's going to be slow going. And it makes sense, too, because it's all relatively new to you. And despite being someone who is well-read, picking up a language can be difficult if you haven't had much exposure.
I'm like frustrated. I'm like cursing under my breath. I'm like Mr. Incredible. Like, math is math. I'm just like over there yelling at myself.
Common Core. I appreciated that shot.
So,
as you guys are both doing this, you do notice that Thea is just kind of hovering over your shoulders and watching enthusiastically.
I'm going to try not to address it unless I am forced to. Like if her face gets closer to the book than mine, I will probably...
She is sort of getting a little bit much on encroaching personal space, yes.
I'm amused by this. And I'm just watching.
Can I help you, Thea?
I was just watching what you were doing. You're trying to pick up a new language?
I suppose so. I have to learn how to read and write Draconic so that I can teach Karash, a Dragonborn, how to write in his own language.
And she kind of looks over at Karash to see.
You realize that,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Which is why she also looks over at you to see what your response is to that.
No offense taken. Given, Karash.
Didn't sound very nice.
And she could tell she kind of feels bad. She's like, "Oh, Karash, that's a shame, but I'm glad someone's trying to help you."
I enjoy learning to read.
And I'm like, to be fair, Karash, I am mad at your language, not at you. It is not easy. I suppose, Thea, you know how to, you're fluent in Draconic.
And at this point, she kind of like reaches out to see if you'll offer her the pen real quick, or the quill, or whatever. whatever you
I
have.
heartily sigh and give her the pen.
And she takes a few minutes just to kind of go over a few things that you had done and a couple new things, and it does help a little bit as far as how much progress you make with this, because she's actually a good teacher. The sense you get from her pretty quickly is that she is very much the scholarly type, who's both about learning and about being able to convey that to other people. She's both patient and thorough as far as helping you work through a few additional letters, and she also works with Karash a bit as well on his side, because she's kind of a good medium for both of what you're trying to accomplish here.
Well, I guess I'm the only asshole noble who doesn't know how to speak Draconic, but I appreciate your help. I'm begrudgingly respecting her.
Which is a lot for Isaac, really, so it's progress. Everybody make a perception check, please.
You perceive Isaac's begrudging respect.
You see his confused and somewhat irritated look.
9.
14.
Oh, I got to roll for Thea, too.
10.
And that is plus what now?
Well, that makes sense, Karash. You're learning to read.
And you
I'm
also
very
roll like
engaged.
I guess +6, Chris.
Yeah.
19 for me.
And what did you have, Lena?
14.
Okay. Heading west, the road that does lead out of the city of Harnstead West, there is a road that seems to be heading directly towards the mountain pass. As you guys kind of keep traveling for a couple hours, what you're finding out pretty quickly is that the road looks a lot less worn in. And you're also seeing that over the course of this, when journeying between Harnstead and Falstock and Denard and a few of the other cities in this more eastern part of the continent, you've seen other travelers thereabouts. You know, you've come across a few people you knew, you've waved to some others and just seen a bunch off in the distance and some other thoroughfares. You are not seeing anybody else on this road. And it does not take a whole lot, especially Tessian, from just being able to see the state of the road, from having the highest roll of everybody. This appears to be not unused travel routes, but pretty barren.
Okay. I mean, Tessie just tries to keep a general eye out. If this is if it's unused very well, then I mean, there may not be bandits, because who would they be? You know, banditing. But there might be other creatures and stuff like that, given that it's a bit more, you know, whatever. So he'll just basically just try to keep a bit more watchful of an eye, less on the group and more on the surroundings, just because we're in a bit more wild territory.
It's a toll road.
Yeah. E370. That'll be 5 gold pieces, Tessian. Early morning travel continues, and again, it's smooth going. And you haven't had a lot of danger on the road overall, other than when you were first leaving Sagara Cove, because that was more of a known bandit area. But as the travel starts to continue into the late morning, you can see the pass growing bigger on the horizon. You also see a lot more trees. And unlike the mountains that were near Sagara Cove, where the Sanguine Stronghold was, where there was like rocky, really difficult travel, this appears to be more foresty. More trees, more grass. You can actually hear assorted little woodland creatures as you're riding through. Probably because it's been left alone for so long that some of the animals don't appear to be as hesitant as they were about being near some of the other major travel routes. I would also say, do me one more perception check, please, everybody.
I want to talk to Lena, too.
Okay.
Aw. You do. 20.
She falls off the wagon.
Whoa!
Whoa!
There I go.
With her confidence
I didn't
from
even know
wanting
she was
to be talked
sober.
to.
That's awkward.
Yeah. Nobody tried to stop her from driving.
23. I just really want to talk to Lena.
I see Lena.
Just a 5 from me. I'm really definitely keeping my eyes on the road.
Oh, no.
You were distracted because I poked my head from the back of the cart over into the front.
Yeah, I was like, what is he up to?
It's also a 23 for Thea. Those at 17 or higher, you notice that this road that you've been on is quickly petering out, which is to say, like, it takes you a moment just to realize, okay, you can still kind of see this spot, through like the densely packed trees where you should be going, and obviously the mountain is a guide. You can tell exactly at least general direction, but the closer you get to the mountains, the more off the beaten path this road is becoming, to the point where you're almost not even sure if this was ever actually a thing or not. Like, it looks like it hasn't been very well traveled for perhaps decades.
So I'd poke my head out and be like, "Hey, Lena. Oh, you watch the road. It's getting a little bumpy."
Yes. Did you need something?
I mean, it can wait if we're going to break the axle on the rocks. What do you think? I'll trust you if the horses can manage it.
Well, you make a fair point about the axle. So I'm gonna at least slow down the wagon and maybe try to assess like what's ahead, and then in relation to the mountain, if I think it's gonna get like better as we go, or if we need to start going on foot.
It should be fine from what you can tell. At least looking ahead as far as you can see. You can't tell all the way to the past, but for now it seems like it's okay. And the road is not terribly bumpy. It's not as good as it once was, of course, but even when you're off the beaten path, it's not like it's a bunch of jagged rocks and stuff. It's still mostly like grassy areas, and there's some tree branches and stuff that are, or roots rather, that are, occasionally something you have to go over. But if you slow your pace slightly, you can get the sense that it's not too bad.
Okay, so I'll do that. And then, so after doing that and kind of getting a feel for it, I'll say, so what did you want to talk to me about something?
Oh, right. It occurred to me that we are on our way to Zenithra. It felt for a while like we were never going to be here. And yet here we are. So I just wanted to see how our fearless leader was feeling. It's here. We're doing it.
Well, I mean, so far so good, I suppose. I guess we'll see once we get there. I'm glad that you're all with me on this. I do appreciate it. I know we've had our fair share of struggles, but I want you to know that I really do care about you all sincerely, and that if I want you to be able to talk to me. If you need anything or anything at all, just please don't hesitate to tell me.
All right, I'll make a note of that. So not feeling nervous, feeling excited, confident?
Yes, I would say that. Well, we'll see once we get there, but so far, I think I feel good about this.
Good. Who knows? This test might be much ado about really nothing. It might be easy. It might show up. It's you punch a ticket and you got it. We don't know.
It's true. I guess we won't know until we get there.
I would wager a guess that the previous what's the name of the people doing the Conatus? It's like a word, right? For like the person doing it.
Oh.
There was a word.
The avatar.
There was a word that her grandma called her, but you don't know if that's.
Oh,
is it Fable Deer? Oh, okay. So I'll tell you that. Okay, I'll say. Oh, yes. The Fable Deer.
Fable Deer. That's so official. I would wager they did not have such a fellowship backing them up, so I would keep being confident.
Yes.
I'm glad to hear it.
Yes.
Okay, well, that's all. I'm going to continue teaching Karash how to read. It's coming along.
Actually, would you mind later, of course. It sounds like you're learning Draconic. I think that would be an interesting skill for me to learn, too, at some point.
Oh,
But I
and
can't learn when I...
like, pressure that I'm feeling like wash over me, but I'm like...
And then, so then I try to like wave my hand. I'm like, oh, you don't need to teach me right this second. I mean, I am driving the wagon. You don't even have to teach me anytime soon, really. But I am interested in it, so...
My hope is I will get so good it will be a non-issue. Let me keep you updated on that front.
Yes, please do.
I'm just going to kind of go back.
Okay.
Like a turtle.
Whoop.
Phantom.
So wait, cart or wagon? I hate being that guy. Cart or wagon? I thought we had a cart, not a wagon.
I don't know
no
what
cover
we have
to
anymore.
it.
There is
No
no cover.
There's no cover to it.
I installed
So,
one
yeah.
of those taxi cab windows, so...
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just a window.
For
Like
privacy.
a cart and a window.
A hovering window too. It's not actually attached to anything.
It's like in Minecraft, you just build stuff. It
Yeah.
just goes places.
Yeah, or Fortnite.
I painted over our symbol and I installed a glass
Yeah.
door.
He had a busy morning. What did you guys accomplish? Fucking nothing. Thea is also kind of intermittently peppering Tessie and also you, Lena, with questions about like where you're headed and what's going to happen when you get there, even though you guys obviously don't necessarily know. You know, she's very curious about the Conatus in addition to everything else as well.
We relay everything we can because we did learn that there was like a shield or something around it preventing people from going in, I think is what Momo had said when we talked to her.
Which I'm actually fascinated when you bring this up, by the way, because this is the first I've heard of it.
I think that's what it was. She mentioned something about that, and that there were lots of smaller pseudo dragons around there as well, I believe. Or that's what she said she saw or heard, and I can't remember which one. But that is, I do relay that. I think we know that much.
Yeah, that was supposedly what she had heard, that maybe there were pseudo-dragons in the area, but primarily that there was some kind of barrier or illusion or something that was keeping randos who happened to go through there, although that was, again, I think she even told you as much, that like it's pretty sparsely traveled now. There are other means of getting to that side of the continent, and or people just don't use that very often.
I would actually ask if Tessian could put that into the magic scroll as well.
Tessian will... He's like, well, I will. I was sort of thinking we should see what it looks like first before we go putting it in there. It may just be hearsay.
And then I nod and say, fair enough.
While Thea is peppering them with questions, I'm going to whisper to Grail, does she have an off switch? Or is this just how it's always going to be?
And I kind of lean over and I say, I have yet to see one.
Wonderful.
I kind of like shoot him like a little grin. I'm like, I think it's delightful.
That doesn't surprise me at all. And then I turn a little more serious. I'm like, how did you sleep last night, Grail?
My grin kind of like fades away, but I just reply, well enough. Nothing to report.
Nothing to report. Okay.
I just kind of shake my head. I seem a little relieved too, but also a little wary. Hopefully you can kind of see it in my eyes.
Well, and that's honestly my response is more like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. I am sort of relieved as well.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with that shit.
I know, and you would have to, because I would tell you about it.
Confront this.
Yes.
Another hour or so passes. You're now like squarely around noontime, and the pass is looming. You can start to see the elevation increase. The forest becomes even more dense to the point where now the canopy is blocking out the majority of, not all the sunlight. It's like you're in the darkness or anything, but definitely like not a lot of direct sunlight getting through because the trees are more closely packed. Still no trouble really maintaining this path because what little of a path there is still a lot more than anything else cutting through the various trees in the area. And again, you can see just from your bearings that this once was something, but it clearly hasn't been for a while. It takes a little bit for the horses to start getting up this incline with a cart with 6 people behind them, but they're holding up okay. They're not like put out by it or anything. It's just the slow going gets a smidge slower as they have to start going up this hill. One last perception check for everybody, please.
How visible is like the mountain where we're going per se? Like over the trees, like is there a good view, or do the trees basically obscure most of it?
The trees are obscuring most of it. You had a better angle before you really started to get off of where the path was.
Okay.
And you could see that they were relatively tall, taller than the Sanguine Stronghold.
I was just Tessian considers drawing a picture of them like from a distance, like in the scroll, but he doesn't because we're not actually sure the shrine is there. It could all be a myth, so he's going to hold off on that then. So
I rolled technically a 21. It was a 15, but I rolled the wrong check. So
okay,
13.
You are muted, Michelle.
Muted.
I'm sure that was lovely, though.
It's a 17. She rolled a 17, same as me.
Well, I was saying, like, all of us rolled 17s except for, like, Lena and Isaac.
Thea had a 14. It has gotten quieter. You were before hearing birds chirping and sometimes, like, different animals rustling through the bushes. You weren't entirely sure what. Occasionally you saw a glimpse of, like, a squirrel or something of that nature. That noise has all but disappeared. And it's been replaced by this kind of eerie, still quiet that you still have your various conversations as you're driving, as you're riding along. But you do kind of notice that whatever animal life had been habitating the woods in the area seems to have tapered off.
So, noticing the eeriness, I would ask Grail, how much farther are we away from the shrine?
Heck if I know.
Right,
no
okay.
idea.
I will poke my head out, over, through, again, and ask Lena.
I will respond with, I suspect we're getting close with how quiet it's gotten. I can't imagine we're too far off now.
That's not a good sign.
Tessian actually mirrors Isaac's concern. I said, well, everyone just keep your eyes out. It's possible that other things have moved into the area, and that's what's causing the silence, not the shrine itself. So just stay alert.
And then I look to Thea. I don't know why I'm talking so much, and I say, I'm normally not one to ask a lot of questions, but what can you contribute if we were to suddenly be besieged? Do you have a magic or a sword I'm not seeing? Can you defend yourself? What are we looking at here?
And you do see daggers in her bracers.
I'm hoping it's more than just the daggers. Is what I'm.
She essentially responds, I can hold my own all right. I'm not a huge fan of fighting, but I have a few tricks up my sleeves if it comes to it.
Well, hopefully it won't.
I agree. But this quiet is a little unsettling. As you guys really start to head up, there's a bit of a chill in the air. It's not cold, but even just this somewhat slight change in elevation is enough to where, between the lack of sunlight and the fact that you're a little higher off the ground, it just kind of feels crisp in the air. Still eerily quiet. But as you continue to ride on, you see up ahead on the right what appears to be like you're going up at this angle, so you can see ahead of you to a certain extent until it gets cut off by the canopies. But up ahead on the right, the path, as it were, through the trees, does appear to splinter off to the north, to your right.
Like in the direction of the mountain itself?
Essentially, yes.
Tessian will point it out. I'm sure we all see it, but I think that's where we should head up.
I think so. So I'm going to guide the horses in that direction.
Are we moving slow enough now to where I can just get out and walk next to the thing?
You would have to walk pretty briskly, but it's slow enough that that's probably doable. Yeah.
I kind of want to. I feel like I'm what do you call it? A duck in a barrel? A fish, in fact, is the phrase.
A duck in a microwave.
Just there. There's just a fisher in there, and then the duck's in there too, and they're like, "Get out of here, duck!"
So I'm gonna just tell Grail like, this is a little unsettling. I'm going to kind of scope it out, and I'm gonna leap out dramatically.
Wow. There he go. I'm gonna let you do the thing and keep an eye on you a little bit until you disappear from view. If you go out of view,
I'll cast Mage Armor on myself. I at least think there's some reason to be a little, spooked.
The ground is quicksand. No, it's not. You're going ahead then, Isaac?
No, but beside.
Just beside?
I think yeah.
Okay.
Maybe beside like the horses though, so my entire field isn't blocked on one side.
Okay. You guys take this splintered off path, and what little there was resembling like a road on the remnants of the path that you had been on to this point are now almost completely gone, to the point where you're actually running over a handful of loose tree branches as you go with the wagons of the cart, and like you can tell pretty quickly that whatever's over here is even less well-trodden than what you had been traveling on before. A few moments pass, and that's not really going to work. Eventually what happens is the horses run into something. Their faces like hit, and Isaac, just a step astride with them, you also kind of hit what feels like it has give to it. It's elastic. It feels like going into jello of sorts, except there's nothing visible. It looks like the path is up ahead. Your vision of it kind of distorts a bit as you push, and your forward momentum is halted, and you feel at this point of resistance where you can no longer move any more forward, and you're kind of just like plastered up against it a little bit as your walking stops, and you go,
Okay, shit.
I'm going to stop the horses, because I'm assuming I'm going to see that they're going to, like, kind of run into something.
And the horses have also sort of stopped on their own, too, because they're, like, both by choice, but also because they didn't have a choice, if that makes sense.
Right, yeah. So in that case, I'll jump out and then inspect what you're inspecting.
We appear to have hit an invisible wall.
Can I touch it? Chris, can I touch it as well? And, like, can I go through it?
Make an Arcana check.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to get out and stab it with my sword.
Okay.
A 9. Ugh.
I want Arcana it as well.
So, Lena, as you start to inspect this, you see out of the corner of your eye Karash come up, stabs into it, and Karash is a pretty strong fellow. I mean, he was carrying so many boxes of vegetables at the day, and yet here, weapon goes in, makes some headway, goes about a foot, and then you see him struggling to keep any forward momentum, and it kind of like expels him, and the weapon comes back out.
We may need a more deft touch, Karash, and I 16 on my Arcana check.
As you look it over with Lena, you do see it responds differently to you. It's almost bizarre to describe. There is a tangible feeling to it, but unlike this resistance, this pushback that others are feeling, it does feel as though while there's resistance, it doesn't get increasingly strong the further in you go. It feels like you actually could potentially pass through it. And Isaac, you can kind of see her hand finding a different sort of purchase than yours did when you first pressed up against it.
I'm gonna try and go through if I can, assuming I don't get like stuck on the other side
I
or
would
something.
say proceed cautiously. We don't know if we can follow you or if you can get back.
You should like tie a rope to you or something. We can pull you out.
I nod that
I'm not telling you to stop. I'm just saying proceed with caution.
So I'm gonna pass through, but slowly and cautiously, and like try to make sure the feeling doesn't change.
Okay.
Does this in any way look like the weird illusion, like sparkly thingies that we've seen, or is it totally different?
It does not. In fact, again, the biggest thing you're selling is that there is some sort of illusory nature to it, because when people interact with it and push in on it, it curves the vision of what's ahead, essentially, in a way that doesn't seem to make sense. So it's not like you're pushing on something that's clear and just you fumble around in it, but the path ahead seems the same. To this, it seems like it's almost painted on, and when people interact with it, it convex and turns around their figures so that it changes the way the image looks, if that makes sense. Lena, you're going in?
I'm going to go in.
And so ends the Conatus.
I explode.
Roll a new character.
Right now. So Lena, you can kind of push your way through. It almost feels like densely packed spider webs. Again, there's resistance each step of the way, but unlike everybody else who seems to have interacted with it, you are able to keep pushing your way through. And as the rest of you watch, you kind of see this, whatever this barrier is, almost fold in on itself around her to the point where it reforms and you can no longer see her. Lena, you keep pressing forward, and eventually your hand comes out the other side of something.
Okay.
Keep going?
Yeah. I want to see what it is.
Okay. You have dark vision, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay. As you kind of force your way out with some difficulty, again, it's not like nearly the resistance the others are facing, but it still takes a little bit of effort to get your way through the end of it. You find yourself in a cave. It's dark on the inside. There's no source of light whatsoever. You can still see ahead of you a decent amount because of your dark vision. Make a perception check, please.
Okay.
How many monsters are around you right this second? If you don't have any light, you'll get eaten by a grue. That's a fact.
Yeah.
23.
23. There are 47 pseudo-dragons that start picking out your eyes.
What?
What you do see up ahead on, like, to the right-hand side of this cave as you're looking onward, you can't see how far the cave goes. It's dark even beyond what your vision can let you see. But there does appear to be a pedestal with a spot for a handprint up ahead on the right-hand side, not too far out from where you came outside the barrier.
Okay, I'm going to go and put my hand on the handprint. Because my thought is that maybe it'll, like, get rid of that barrier behind me and then everyone else can come through. So I'm going to try it.
Okay.
Disadvantage on dexterity. You have one hand.
Whoa!
Platform eats your hand. Jason warned you about this. You place your hand on it, and there is a bluish-white shimmer on what appears to be some sort of panel that you've placed your hand on. And the rest of the group, you see from the outside, this barrier of sorts opens into a semicircle of sorts, and up ahead you can see that it goes into a cave, and Lena's up there with her hand on a thing, and it appears to have opened.
It's basically like a hole, and it's like a teleport. It's like a portal. It's basically like looks like a portal in a way, like because now there's just a hole in the middle of the road that goes someplace that the road is not.
Potentially, yes, but it's hard to tell for sure because it seems like even as you're just looking at it, that the barrier still extends outside of that semicircle. So it's not like it's a portal in the strict sense of like teleport from point A to point B as much as it's moved back the barrier. What else is behind this, you can't really tell.
Right, it could just be a giant mountain, and we're not seeing the mountain, and we're just going into the mountain.
Could be.
Well, I'm going through.
I'm gonna whisper yell to Lena. Are you okay, tiny elf?
I'm gonna respond. Yes, I'm just fine.
Okay.
Tessian, gosh, I want to say makes a mental note. I can't just keep pulling out this scroll and writing in it. So he will quickly try to sort of feel the edges of this kind of hole here, and just get a good sense of it because he's going to need to document it. So
same springy, elastic kind of feeling where it has some give to it, but you know you push in a few inches and you quickly find the point where your tactile strength's not enough to keep moving it.
Okay, and really it's just more of a as well as just a good visual thing. He wants to make sure he's got a good visual look for it as well.
Okay.
So, and then he'll follow everyone in. But yeah.
Is there anyone who's not going in?
Thea,
I go.
screw her.
Bye. It's been fun.
Stay with the horses.
Are you bringing in the cart?
Is it big enough to?
It is. You got a good 15 feet by 15 feet, like width height. It's a pretty big cave.
I mean, it's better than leaving the horses out in the creepy forest.
That's fair.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll lead them in if Lena's busy, looking around at pedestals.
Yeah, well, I'm also afraid to take my hand off of it because if I don't want the barrier to like close on you guys, so.
That's fair. Or the horses.
Yes.
Become a part of me. Okay. So everybody heads inside this cave. No light source whatsoever. So anybody who does not have dark vision, which I think is especially...
It's like all of us. It's
That's
like all
everybody
of
but
us.
Lena, right? Lena's the only one who does?
And maybe Thea? Does Thea? I
don't remember either, actually.
What is she?
She is a half-elf, and I can't remember if they do. She does 60 feet dark vision.
Okay.
So she can, but I do cast light on myself, so there's at least some light.
Okay. And it lights up this cave as far as you can see from the source of light anyways. Goes straight ahead. Not much to it. No bends, no elevation changes. Seems to be going straight forward in this sort of northwesternly direction. You started kind of veering off towards the northwest as you headed off to this path, and it appears to be extending straight in that direction.